What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Markets. My name is Ansel Lindner. Today is Wednesday. It is the day that the CPI is going to be released for October. So we're going to live react to that. We have about 6 minutes until that information drops. And until then, we're just going to look at some expectations out there in the market. Let's share the screen and get right into it. Which one am I going to? Okay, of course, you guys know I had to start on bitcoinandmarkets.com. Check it out to join the email list, free email list, get all of my content that comes out on almost a daily basis over there on bitcoinandmarkets.com. Appreciate everyone that subscribes and supports on the website. Also, I'm live streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Telegram. Comments are open. Put your comments down below, and I will answer everything that I can. Okay, so CPI, this is the webpage that we are going to be watching. It is bls.gov/CPI. You can see September was 0.2. This release is this morning at 8:30 Eastern Time. Here is the Cleveland Fed. They put out a inflation nowcast that they track and update throughout the month. For the upcoming month. And we can see here in October, they're expecting it to be 0.18%. Of course, that would round up to 0.2%. And it's also right around that target that is the 2% annualized rate. So if you annualize 0.17, you get to 2% annualized. So that is right around the 2% target of the Fed. I'm not saying if that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what we have here. Core CPI 0.27, PCE that's coming out later. That comes out at the end of the month. Year over year, we're going down to 2.56% in October. That is what the market is expecting. I did share also on Telegram earlier a post from Zero Hedge, and let me bring that up. Wrong window. The Cleveland Fed is typically, it has been more often than not overestimating inflation. So if it's estimating at 0.18, we can expect it to be there or below. So here is from Zero Hedge. 1 month after the September CPI unexpectedly came in hotter than expectations, and it really wasn't. It was just rounded up, with core CPI printing at 3.3% versus the 3.2% expected. Again, it's a rounding thing. And headline CPI rising sequentially for the 52nd straight month. Okay, whatever. Fed cut rates 50, then 25. We know that. Thursday morning, Trump, okay, inflation expectation. Headline CPI is expected to rise 0.2%. We just saw that from Inflation Nowcast, 0.18, rounded up to 0.2. We can dive in and get a better idea of these numbers. So let's do if we go to Fred, they have CPI, of course. This is all items, and we can see percent change. If we zoom in to basically the COVID era. All right, let me make sure this is coming through properly. All right, so if we zoom in here to the COVID era and we look at the last few months, I mean, just a big picture item, okay? This was the inflationary, quote unquote, inflationary impulse, the rising inflation. See higher highs, higher lows, basically. Then we hit a brick wall, July of 2022. I reported on it at the time, and we were going to return to a post GFC normal. And if we go back to the Great Financial Crisis, you can see this is post GFC normal, up and down, up and down, up and down, right around 1 to 2% year over year. Okay. Then we had this rising period with stimulus checks and supply chain issues. Then we drop back and we have returned to post GFC normal exactly as I predicted. All right, now if we zoom back in, this era over, since July of 2022, it was slightly up, but over the last 6 months to a year, it has been going down. See that? It has been going down. Okay, we're at 829, but this is what we're watching if we go much different than the last 3 months. Let me go back to the CPI page and refresh. 829, still September. Let me see comments. Is there any comments? Eastside Tony, good morning. Good morning. Yep, we are going to react to this. I do expect it to be weak. I have been expecting it to be weak because of the macro thesis, and that is lower growth and inflation. All right, October. CPI for all items rises 0.2% in October. Shelter up. Okay, this is an important piece of information. Shelter up. Let's go into this. Right on expectations, though, so this should not be any big market reaction. Also, this could be 0.15, and it's actually below expectations, but it gets rounded up to 0.2%. We'll have to wait for later in the day when it gets added to the Fred website, and we can see exactly out to 4 decimal places what it was. But okay, so increased 0.2%, seasonally adjusted in October. The same increase it has been for the previous 3 months. So if we do go back to this Fred image, you can see here we had 0.15 in July, 0.18, 0.17, and depending where it lands right here, probably under 0.2. It's just rounded up to 0.2. So very, very flat over the last 3-4 months. At this time of year is interesting. So overall, it fits into this kind of declining, sloping downward trajectory here on the CPI. Okay, continuing here, all items increased 2.6% before seasonally adjusted. So that is the last 12 months. And what did the nowcast have? 2.56. So again, rounded up to 2.6, right on expectation. So the index for shelter rose 0.4% in October, accounting for over half of the monthly all items increase. Again, half. So where would we be if we just took out shelter? We would be much, much lower on the CPI. And we can actually do that. Let me go in here. CPI less shelter. Share this tab. And I'm jumping around to tabs here a lot, guys. Sorry about that. But we are live reacting to this, so it's important to get a lot of different angles here on this. And if we zoom in here as well, less shelter, you can see the last few months were negative. Then last month was positive once again on the shelter, all items less shelter. And at 0.12, that will probably go down because remember, 50% of the 0.2 is from shelter. So all items less shelter is going to be about 0.1. So we should see a little bit dip down here on this all items less shelter. But this is, I mean, really, these are negative prints. So when people talk about CPI and all this, just tell them it's all shelter, because if you take shelter out, it's negative. And then people will say, oh, but shelter is such a big deal. Okay, but shelter is counted differently in the CPI. So yes, I get it. The shelter is going up, but shelter can go up for different reasons. Okay. If you take out shelter and you look at all other items, there was a period of 3 months in a row, almost 4 months in a row, that it was negative. All right. So if everything else is going down and shelter is going up, why is the default to say it's money printing? Why isn't the default to say, oh, there's something specifically affecting shelter? Now, what could that be? Look at interest rates. All right, so there's people that just wave the magic wand of inflation and label everything inflation all the time. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Okay, let's go back to the BLS, read some more. Food index also increased over the month, rising 0.2%. Food at home index increased 0.1%. Food away from home, 0.2%. And the energy index was unchanged over the month after declining 1.9% in September. The index for all items less food and energy, so core, rose 0.3% in October. And what did the nowcast have? Core was supposed to be, yes, 0.27, so rounded up to 0.3, as it did in August and September. So it's very, very flat. Despite the Fed cutting rates, CPI is staying very flat over the last several months, trying to hold on to some growth and some inflation. Because remember, in this period of time, when we have a credit-based system, I'm not talking about all times, I'm talking about specific to the system we have today, a credit-based system, inflation and growth are the same things. And so we have to have inflation to have growth. If we are barely getting any growth or barely getting any inflation, and we're cutting rates pretty rapidly, 75 basis points over the last two meetings, the overall pressure is downward. Okay, the overall pressure to the CPI is downward. Indices that increased in October include shelter, used cars, trucks, airline fares, medical care, and recreation. The index is, I don't know why they don't say indices. Maybe there's some specific grammar rule I'm not aware of, but the indices for apparel, communication, household furnishings, and operations were among those that decreased over the month. All items index rose 2.6% for 12 months ending October, after rising 2.4% over the 12 months ending in September. All right. All items less food and energy rose 3.3% over the last 12 months. As expected, the energy index decreased 4.9% over 12 months ending in October. All right, let's take a look at the table. And shelter is the big one that we want to take a look at here. It is part of services. And this is October, the current month here. So if we come down and we get shelter in the current month, 0.4, up from 0.2. But overall, I mean, it's been flat. It kind of spiked a little bit. What month is this? August, 0.5. Then came down to 0.2, and now 0.4. This is a lagging indicator, though, if you guys are new to my content and new to CPI in general. Shelter is a lagging indicator. It does not have a mind of its own. It will follow the market. It will follow what everything else is doing. And it takes a long time to change because, you don't sign a new lease every month. So it takes at least 12 months to price everything in as prices are going up. It also takes 12 months to price everything out once prices start going out. There's also owner equivalent rent, which is they go around and they ask homeowners, how much do you think you can rent your house for? And that takes a long time. So if you have local rental rates slowly going up that are lagging by 12 months, right? And then you have other owner equivalent rent where they're looking at the rental rates around and they're going to say what they could think they could rent their house for. Then that's going to take them an additional time on top of the 12-month lag that's already built into rents. So it could be out to 18 months to 2 years. So there is a big time lag in shelter. And it's definitely coming down overall. Like if we took a 3-month average and we looked at shelter, 3-month average, it's been coming down over the last year. But 0.4%, don't know exactly if that's rounded up or whatever. But yeah, there you go. So let's take a look at comments. Any other comments? Let's see about Telegram. Any comments in here? Not seeing any. All right. So that is a real quick live stream. Might come on later today and do another live stream. We'll see how the day progresses. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. Check out bitcoinandmarkets.com. Sign up for all my content over there. Free. There is a free tier, free email list, no spam. And then there is also paid content on there. So also, if you are watching 139 people, if you're watching on Twitter, jump over to YouTube and Rumble. Like, comment, subscribe over there, trying to grow the subscriber base. You can find those links in my pinned tweet. All right. Appreciate y'all. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.